Hello, good morning. Welcome to our panel on the impact of artificial intelligence and machine learning on journalism. It's great to see the diehards who are up early on Saturday morning. I'm Nick Diakopoulos. I'll be your moderator / host for the next hour and a bit. We'll be discussing sort of everything AI and journalism, all kinds of interesting challenges and questions for us to get into on this panel. Whether it's machine learning techniques that help moderate online content, which we'll hear about this morning, or software that writes sports and finance articles automatically, which we'll hear about from another panelist this morning. I think there are some really fascinating and really kind of thorny questions for us to get into today. Things like, what does AI mean for jobs in the news industry? How do journalists need to think about quality and accuracy of news content when it's being produced with AI and automation? And what are the interesting sort of ethical questions that come up as journalists integrate these technologies into their practices? So I'm going to be joined by a fantastic panel of experts today, including Lisa Gibbs, the Director of News Partnerships at the Associated Press. Among other things, she works with industry leaders and emerging startups to identify smart applications of automation and AI at the AP. I'm also joined by Clay Elsroth as a product manager from Bloomberg, one of the companies that's really gone all in on automation. Clay is helping to develop machine learning and speech-to-text solutions for the Bloomberg newsroom. We'll also have Ling Jiang, a senior data scientist with the Washington Post, where she works on data mining and knowledge discovery from large volumes of data. And then finally, we have Michael Morrissey, the chief executive of Muckrock, where he oversees the development of several different technological tools used by journalists, including things like Document Cloud, FOIA Machine, O-Transcribe, and Quackbot. So just a note on the format. I know we started a little bit late, so I guess we'll have a shorter break in the middle. Each of us will speak for 7 to 10 minutes. We'll introduce ourselves, describe our work, our role, our projects as they relate to AI and automation. Then we'll kind of get into tackling some of those big questions that I mentioned earlier. And of course, we'll leave some time at the end for QA with that, with the microphone cube. All right, so I'm going to kick things off and just tell you a little bit about myself and the kind of work that I do in this space. So again, I'm Nick Diakopoulos. I'm a professor of communication studies and computer science at Northwestern University. I direct a research lab there called the Computational Journalism Lab, where we study, design, and build all kinds of computational, algorithmic, and automated production and dissemination tools for news information. I've spent the better part of the last couple of years actually working on a book on these topics. It'll be out in a couple of months. I hope you check it out. It's called Automating the News: How Algorithms Are Rewriting the Media. But for today, I kind of want to put a little bit of a kibosh on some of the AI hype that tends to circulate in the news media. I think when we talk about AI in journalism, really what we should be talking about is human-centered AI in journalism. And in particular, I want to talk about three things that relate to human-centered AI. One is I want to talk about human values in technology and journalistic values in AI technology. Secondly, I want to talk about how humans and algorithms are increasingly hybridized or blended together in new news routines that incorporate AI. And then I want to talk about how I think practitioners and scholars should really be adopting methods and approaches from human-computer interaction when they're studying AI. Okay, so first, this idea of values in technology. So this shouldn't be surprising. All technologies, including especially AI technologies, embed and encode human values. These values reflect choices like what data was used to train the machine, how that data was defined and sampled, how algorithms are parameterized and configured, how the defaults are chosen, what inputs a system pays attention to, what inputs a system doesn't pay attention to, what's quantified, what's not quantified. All of these are human decisions that play into how an AI system is designed. Artificial intelligence systems are tools at the end of the day. They're built by people to serve human needs and goals and values. And that makes them fundamentally political tools as well. They express the values that designers and developers choose to build into them. I think this suggests a real opportunity for journalists and news organizations to become aware of and start exercising their ability to include their own professional ideological values, institutional values, into these technologies that are then, of course, driving news production and dissemination. If it's not going to be journalistic values going into these AI technologies, it'll be values from non-editorial stakeholders, values from platform companies, and so on. I think it's time for us to start thinking about AI as a new medium, actually. A medium in which journalists can express and exercise their ethical and normative values, their professional values, through the code that they implement. So I would call on journalists to kind of step up and really start being AI designers if they want to own the future of news media. So to my second point, hybridization, it's sort of a pattern in the evolution of media. Every wave of new technology, whether that's telephony, photography, the copy machine, digitization, all of these technologies somehow change the nature of roles and tasks and workflows in the newsroom. AI is no different than any of these other technologies. It's also a technology that's going to change news work. It will often complement, but rarely entirely substitute for a journalist. Some economists have estimated that only about 15% of a reporter's job and only 9% of an editor's job could be automated using current technology, current AI technology. Humans still have an edge over non-Hollywood AI in two key areas that I think are essential to journalism. Complex communication is the first one, and then expert thinking is the second one. So reporting, listening, responding, pushing back, negotiating with sources, and then having the creativity to compellingly put that all together, or knowing when a new angle of attack is needed. AI can't do any of this stuff. This is what we would call complex communication. But of course, these are indispensable tasks to producing journalism. So although AI can often augment human work to make it more efficient or more high quality, more often than not, I think we're finding AI technologies actually create new types of work. They create new tasks like configuring, parameterizing, knowledge management, data production, template writing. These are all new tasks that are coming online as a result of using these new technologies. So the future of AI in journalism has a lot of people around, but I think there's also a lot of research still to be done to study the new and changing news work that AI creates when blended into journalism practice. Now, my final point is that, whether we're talking about values in design or the evolution of hybrid workflows, it's clear to me that the future of AI in journalism really has to be human-centered. I think to study this hybrid future, scholars should be drawing on methods and approaches from the almost 40-year-old field of human-computer interaction, HCI. For instance, value-sensitive design approaches, which have been around for dozens of years, will enable the deliberate design and operation of AI systems within the value frameworks of journalism. And methods like task analysis, which have been around for 30-plus years, will help decompose high-level tasks into automatable subtasks that can be blended with human effort. There are all kinds of new, I think, and exciting questions that can be tackled using these types of HCI approaches. So just think about, how should interfaces be designed to empower editors to edit at scale when an AI has just generated thousands of stories? Or how can human agency be maintained in these types of systems so that people can direct AI and uphold journalistic quality standards? And how will end users ultimately come to interact with algorithmically imbued news media and AI agents? Again, I would argue that pursuing all of these types of questions will benefit from further collaboration with scholars and practitioners in the field of HCI. Something I'm happy to say we're already starting to make happen. The first HCI in journalism workshop will actually take place next month in Scotland. So I'm going to stop there, but I'm looking forward to hearing from our panelists, and then we'll jump into some of those exciting discussion questions. Next up, we have Lisa Gibbs from the AP.